well, if she dies, she dies. She's had a good life. And she was only 2. I was astonished. And I think at that point, everything died. For me, for him. The most dangerous moment in a marriage isn't when she's screaming at you, or when she's crying, or even when she's begging you to take notice or do something. It's when she stops and gives up, and you don't notice. Because silence to a man means peace. And then he thinks everything is all right. But it's far from all right. It is on its last legs. And that's when you need to really take notice. Because to a husband, silence looks like peace. But to a walkaway wife, silence means she's already packed her bags and emotionally shut down. If you're at the silent stage, then this video is for you. Walkaway wives, and that's the term we're going to use here because it is a term actually. Walkaway wives have spent the last 10, 20, 30 years in a marriage, and they've had years of being sidelined, years of being interrupted or ignored, years of being unsupported emotionally. They've been carrying the emotional and physical load of childcare and the household responsibilities alongside any other outside job that they've got. They've had years of gradual emotional withdrawal after repeated attempts to be heard have failed. Silence is being misread by husbands as, well, everything's okay, I'm okay. But that's why husbands feel blindsided when they come in one day and they find either their wife is already gone or her bags are packed in the hallway. They're blindsided. They didn't see it coming. Many women stop arguing when they've already checked out emotionally. They've got their bags packed in their head and they're gone. They're just waiting for the time. Men often assume that good enough is great. There's no problem here, mate, and their marriage is stable. They couldn't be more wrong. Emotional disengagement happens slowly, not overnight. What feels like out of the blue to men has often been years in the making. Women now initiate nearly half of divorces. Divorce is no longer stigmatized, and it's feared less. Midlife, for women, is seen as a new beginning, not an ending. Financial independence makes leaving more possible. Longer life expectancy creates the it's now or never mindset. And the main reason women leave isn't affairs. Feeling unhappy or emotionally unfulfilled is they fall out of love. They grow apart from you over time, and they might be warning you along the way, and you're not listening. They're no longer willing to sacrifice their own identity. It's exhaustion rather than anger. The emotional impact after divorce, many women report that they feel relief and they're filled with renewed happiness. Curiously enough, the fear of being alone is very low, and most women aren't actively seeking a new partner. And of those that do, many say they wouldn't hesitate to divorce again if need be. Any divorce will bring stress, anxiety, some depression, and certainly financial strain for both parties. If the woman is the breadwinner of the house, they often experience unfair financial outcomes as opposed to the men. Domestic and emotional labour is rarely considered when sorting out settlements. Some women leave to escape emotional abuse, coercive control, or neglect. And in the bigger picture, most men benefit more from marriage than women do. A marriage that works well enough for a man may be absolutely intolerable for a woman. Women commonly internalize beliefs like, I'm just too much, or I'm not enough. How about reframing those phrases to, I've had too much, and I've had enough? By the time I left my second husband, I had spent years trying to make our marriage work. We'd go on walks, we'd have the chat. And he'd say, yes, I agree with you, and all the rest of it. And then I would get a cheap bunch of flowers from the garage on his way home the next day. And nothing changed. Nothing at all. And I would wait and wait to see if he was going to start taking care of the marriage that we had, like I did. But he didn't. He didn't. Or as my assistant put it, oh, Imogen, you've spent years giving your marriage the kiss of life and all to no avail. It was already dead years ago. And she didn't see half of it. She only saw the brief glimpses of my marriage if we were ever together. And we were with my husband as a couple. There were the silences, the withholding of affection, the criticism, no matter how hard I tried when I did something, to the point where I spent 18 years in therapy, quietly trying to manage to stay in the marriage, not needing to be loved. I mean, that's absurd, but I did it to see if I could, because I didn't want to divorce. I can't tell you how many times I told him I thought our marriage was dying and that we really needed to do something about it. But it didn't fall on listening ears. I think the last straw for me was when our daughter had been injected with the MMR vaccine, and a few hours later she became floppy and grizzly and absolutely not herself. She just looked really poorly, and I'd phoned the doctor and he said, keep an eye on her. But, I'd had one baby already die in a cot death. And this was a panic for me. I can't tell you how panicked I was. And he wanted to go out that night. It was a Friday, and Friday was squash night. And he wanted me to go with him. And I said that I wouldn't, because I wanted to look after our daughter. And he said, well, if she dies, she dies. She's had a good life. And she was only 2. I was astonished. And I think at that point, everything died. For me, for him. My love had withered on the vine through lack of care. The thing to remember is that walkaway wives aren't selfish or impulsive. They're exhausted, they're unheard, and they are done. The divorce might look sudden to you, but it's usually the final step in a very long process. Midlife walkaway wife divorces are less about giving up and more about wanting a life that feels right, that gives them strength and is emotionally sustainable. For decades, you have been the keeper of the fire to keep everyone warm. And sometimes it might feel that you do that by setting your own self on fire. So when people look at you and they say, oh my goodness, you're so selfish, you're breaking up the entire family, you should be ashamed of yourself, I want you to remember this. You aren't quitting. You are choosing to survive. You aren't destroying a home. You finally decided to build a life that feels right for you, where you are allowed to live too. Walking away isn't a failure of love that happened through many years. Sometimes it's the greatest act of self-love you'll ever commit. Some people say that midlife divorce for walkaway wives is a tragedy. They look at us in disbelief. But I want you to look in the mirror and see something different. This isn't an ending. It's a graduation. You have served your time as the good mother, as the good wife, as the loving partner and the fixer. And you've certainly earned the right to say, well, What about me? I count too. The second half of your life doesn't have to look like the first half. It can be calmer, quieter, and entirely yours. You haven't run out of time. You've just stopped wasting it. I know how so many of you watch my videos in silence, maybe realizing for the first time that your marriage has a name, the Walkaway Wife Syndrome. It's a thing. Look it up. If you feel comfortable and safe to do so, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments. You don't have to give details. You can anonymize things. Was there a specific time, a tipping point if you will, that you realized that you were just done? You were done with all the nonsense and you chose yourself. Let's fill the comments section with our own stories so that the walkaway wives that are watching this video and not knowing that it is possible to do and see that there is a life beyond just staying for peace. It's never too late to start again. I know that only too well. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Lots of love. Bye-bye.